I have literally no excuses for why I haven't picked up this second book yet. You know what? Like, she's just a girl. Oh my goodness! Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be doing our very last reading series vlog of the year. There are a couple of series that you guys know I want to prioritize either finishing or at least just getting farther into before the end of 2025. So here we are. This week we are going to focus on series. I'm currently in the middle of 19 active series at this point, but I think out of those 19, I'm pretty sure you guys already know what we're gonna read this week and what we're gonna prioritize. So just getting straight into it, the first book we are going to dive into, this is going to finish a trilogy. That is, of course, The Blood Traitor by Lynette Noni. I'm so excited to pick this one up. You guys have all been following on my journey with this series. It's just such a highly addictive, bingeable YA dystopian fantasy series. It gives all the nostalgia vibes, but also throws in so many fun twists that the plot overall does feel quite refreshing, even though the overall trajectory of the plot feels very familiar, you know what I mean? For a quick synopsis, just in case you do not know what the Prison Healer trilogy is, in the first book we follow Kiva. She has been wrongfully imprisoned when she was a child, and she has basically grown up in this prison her entire life. Now in her young adult years, she has become the healer of the prison, and one of her main tasks is to prepare new prisoners as they come in, like heal them, get them ready for getting jobs and working in the prison. The rebel queen has been caught and arrives at the prison, and they want her to actually heal the rebel queen because they want this rebel to participate in a series of trials that will determine her innocence or her guilt. So that is what Kiva has to face in the first book. And yeah, as I mentioned, these books are just so highly bingeable. I feel like I read them so fast. I just devour them. They're so easy to read, but also so exciting. The world in this book is very simple, and the magic system is pretty much elemental magic. So there's not like too much to need to like wrap your head around and to understand. And I feel like that makes the book just so much more enjoyable because when you dive in, you can just use your entire brain capacity to follow the story and to feel for the characters and to get attached to people and things that are happening. So we're gonna dive into The Blood Traitor as our first book this week, and that will finish a trilogy. So good way to start this vlog. Okay, I've read about 120 pages of The Blood Traitor so far. I mean, like, what can I say? The bingeability is still there. It's still so quick to read. I actually didn't have too much time to read yesterday because I had a lot of work to do, and then I actually went to this event hosted by Spotify yesterday, which was so much fun. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of just reading time yesterday, and I still managed to read 120 pages in really no time at all. So yeah, confirmed the ease of reading this book is still there. It still goes by so quickly, but I was very curious to see where this story would take place. I don't want to say too much because obviously, you know, spoilers. But yeah, from the events that happened at the end of the second book, I was like, where are we going to spend the majority of our time in this third and final book? I am very pleasantly surprised, actually. I think what I love about this series is that we really do explore the world. We don't just kind of spend all of our time in one location. We do kind of like hop from place to place, and I find that so much fun in fantasies. I think especially with YA fantasies, like just seeing a lot of different environments and going on this like it's not really an adventure book, but just like seeing more of the world, I feel like it's always just so fun. There have already been some like gasp surprise moments that were like half predictable and half not. I think that's what I love about this series is that there are a lot of plot twists, but it's not like they don't come out of the blue. They make sense. Like at the time the twists happens, you're usually already halfway there in your mind. Like you usually have already guessed at least half of the twist, and then there's like one element of surprise that you're like, oh, I knew there was going to be a twist about this and I knew it was going to take this direction, but there is still something kind of unknown about it and it still surprises you, and it's exciting in that way. So I think like just the way the twists are crafted in this trilogy are really well done. Like Lynette Noni knows how to put a twist, a plot twist in a book. So lots of exciting things happening. We are at a point now where I think like I'm starting to feel giddy. At the beginning of this book, it was kind of just like, this sucks, you know? It's kind of like dealing with the aftermath of what happened in the last book. And then now I'm like, something just happened. I'm excited. I'm excited to see I can't say much. I can't say, this is the problem with reading series. It's like, I can't really like talk about it openly because like, I don't want to give away what happens in the first 2 books. But yeah, I have lots of time to read today. It's going to be kind of like almost a full reading day. So I'm going to continue to read The Blood Traitor. And I really hope that the end of this book concludes well because the whole ride has been so fun so far. But yeah, let's read. So sniffly as I've been reading this. Like, there are so many moments that are just like hitting me deep in the feels, and it's truly just because I'm so attached to these characters. Another thing about the series in general is that there are so many things that Kiva does that just make me think like, girl, like, what are you doing? Why did you choose to do that? Like, she makes the silliest decisions a lot of the time, but for some reason I don't get annoyed at her in a bad way. I get annoyed at her in a good way. Like, maybe not a good way, but just a neutral way, in a way that I'm just like, you know what, like, she's just a girl. She's just a girl. Maybe because like this entire story in general feels very YA, that I'm just kind of expecting our YA protagonist to make some silly decisions. She's not an adult, so I don't expect the same, I guess, kind of wisdom or decision-making skills that I would expect to see in an adult character, but like for some reason I just give her so much lenience compared to other like female fantasy protagonists that I read about. Like, if any other character was making the decisions and doing the things she is doing, I would be so mad at them, but for some reason I don't get mad at her. I get frustrated because like I know like that decision that she makes is going to send us into a whole tailspin of a plot, but like she's just stirring things up, you know? Like, there wouldn't be a story if she wasn't making some of these silly decisions. Anyways, I just truly love these characters so much. Have I said that enough? Like, how many times have I said that already? But it's just so true. Like, if you love a found family, if you love reading about family dynamics and characters and how they find each other and bond with each other and reunite with each other, and like there are just so many like good relationship moments, not even just with the romance, but with friendships and with family as well. Like, it's just so good. But I have, I think, probably around 100 pages left in The Blood Traitor, so let's finish up. Okay, yeah, this that was just so much fun. It was so wholesome too. It truly just gives you like true YA dystopian nostalgic feelings, like wholesome. We have like an overall very positive message that like runs through the entire trajectory of the book. It's one of those like, it's like love will conquer all type of books, you know what I mean? It's just, it's so cute. It's so cute and it's so fun. I think I'm gonna give this a 4.5. I really, really love this. I wanted this to be a 5-star. I was kind of like thinking it could have been a 5-star, but I just think there are a few things, like maybe certain things happen a little bit too conveniently, but like how could you not like this series? Like, it just makes you feel so good. And I was actually reading the author's note from Lynette Noni at the end of this, and she literally just fangirls about her own characters in her author's note. She's like, and Calden, and Tip, and Jaren, and Cresta, and Kiva, and you know, she just like literally fangirls about every single character. You can tell that so much love has been put into these characters, and it's not even like they're the most complex characters if you're gonna compare to, I I don't know, like characters in adult books that have so many layers to them. Like they're not overly complex, but they're not overly simple. And just the way they're written, the things they say, the actions they do, the way that these certain, I don't know, touchy-feely moments happen, these like cute, emotional, wholesome moments happen, is just done so well. And that's where the joy in this series is. This was a wonderful conclusion to the trilogy. I'm so happy about this. And yeah, I do think the books just continued to get better and better and better. Like The Prison Healer, the first book, I was like, this is fun. I can see it becoming really, really good, but I think I gave it like a 3.75 or something. And then yeah, the ratings just continued to go higher and higher and higher as you go on throughout the series. But yeah, this was amazing. This was so good. I want to read more from Lynette Noni now. I know she does have at least like one other series and some other books that she's written, but I loved this. 4.5. Okay, one series down. Our next read is going to be one that I have for some reason just put off for so long for no reason. Like I've wanted to continue the series and finish it for like months now, but I guess like between my monthly TBRs and the reading vlogs I was filming, I just like didn't for some reason have the opportunity or like the chance to pick this one up. I don't know. I have literally no excuses for why I haven't picked up this second book yet, but we're gonna read A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. Finally. You guys all know the story by now. I read An Ember in the Ashes like months ago. Absolutely loved it. Loved it so much that I ended up buying the entire box set so I could have all 4 books like ready on my physical TBR to read, but then I just never ended up picking up the second book. Like, why? I literally cannot tell you. But the time has come to finally pick up this second book. So this is actually another YA dystopian fantasy series, but I would say this one reads more upper YA, where The Prison Healer definitely reads just a little bit younger. I would say there are more mature themes in this one in general, but we follow 2 main characters in this one. So we have Leia, or Laya, I think. I think her name's actually pronounced Laya. I've been saying Leia this whole time, but I have to correct myself. But our world is split into, I guess, a couple of different factions or regions or groups or whatever, and Laya is part of the Scholars. Everyone used to live in peace, and I think the Scholars did have quite a bit of power in the past, but the Marshals, they're like the soldiers faction, they took over and just became oppressors. At the beginning of An Ember in the Ashes, Laya's brother gets captured by the Marshals. To save him, Laya has to go undercover as a slave and sort of infiltrate and spy on the Marshals. So that's what she does. And then our second POV is Elias. He is actually part of the Marshals, and he's currently training up to be a part of the military. He's kind of like in the Marshal school. But he's definitely a bit of an interesting character because even though he is a part of these Marshals, he always has this kind of like conscience, this like guilty conscience. And he definitely has his doubts as to if he should be a part of the Marshals, you know? He just kind of sees things happening and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this seems very right. I don't know if this seems like the group of people that I want to be a part of. So that's Elias and Laya. And yeah, we just follow their 2 POVs as they navigate through their circumstances and their paths intertwine, of course, along the way. So the first book was wonderful. This is an interesting world where there's not actually that much magic. It more just feels like a dystopian world that is definitely fantastical because it's made up. But in terms of like magic, like you don't really see uses of magic too much, like as opposed to the Prison Healer world where we have an elemental magic system. But I'm curious to see where this second book goes. So we're gonna start this one next. Okay, I'm 130 pages in. I forgot how like cool this world is. It's not like similar to the Prison Healer series, this is not the most complex world, but I feel like there's just so much like mood and atmosphere in this one. It definitely feels a lot more gritty, and there are some really cool just like creepy dark creatures in this one, like very eerie vibes, which I really, really love. So I'm just enjoying being back in this world again. Again, as I mentioned, there's not like a lot of magic, let's say, like woo, like big tricks magic, but the fantasy part of this book is, yeah, in those like creatures in the world, in the lore. There seems to be like maybe some sort of a prophecy thing going on. I also am really loving the story because I think in fantasy books, I feel like there's an art to how you introduce new POVs. Like there are some fantasy books that follow just one POV. Obviously, there are some fantasies that follow dual or multiple POV. And then there's stuff like this where you start off with maybe one or two POVs. And then as the story goes on, you add more POVs gradually. And to be able to do that, but make the story feel natural still and to make the reader care about the new POVs that are added, I think that really requires skill. And Sabaa Tahir definitely has that skill because we do have like one main POV added to this story. And if I'm going to be completely honest, I think right now their POV, the new one that we've added, is the one that I'm actually the most interested in right now. So yeah, I think there's a certain skill that is required in gradually introducing new POVs and like making the reader care about the new POV. And it's done so well in here. So I love that. I think the story is also really interesting so far. There are like two little things that I'm just like slightly unsure about. The first thing is timeline feels a little bit weird. There have been a few kind of like jumps back and forth in the timeline, and like, you know, I've read a lot of books, fantasy books, fiction books, all kinds of books that have time jumps in them. Like I'm not unfamiliar with the concept, but for some reason the way some of the like time jumps are done in this story are a little bit confusing to me. I don't know, they just seem unclear. I don't know, the pacing just seems like it gets blocked every once in a while. And then the other thing I'm not like completely loving about this story in general is the romance. And I think this was the thing that prevented me from rating the first book a 5-star too. I rated the first book like a 4.25 or a 4.5, I think. Like I really loved it, but the one thing that made me think like this is not a perfect read is the romance subplot. Like the overall fantasy plot is so interesting and I love it, but the main romance in these books just feels very random to me, and I felt that in the first one. It just seemed like our characters were just immediately, like instantly bonded for no reason at all, and I didn't understand the pull that they were feeling towards each other, and I'm feeling the same thing here. It's like I've kind of just accepted that they're going to be the couple to move forward, but I don't feel it. It's like I understand it's going to be them, but I don't really understand why they like each other. Like they don't even know each other. I don't know how to feel about this, but the rest of it, so good. So I'm gonna keep reading. Okay, I have about 100 pages left, so clearly I've been just like devouring this book today. Something is definitely working. I think every character POV that we're getting in this book has such like a defined specific goal that's like so unwavering that I think is making this book very easy to just like consume because you know exactly what each character wants and you know exactly where they're going, and everything just feels very straightforward. You kind of know where everyone's going to end up, but you're just following the ride to get there, but like in a good way, you know? Like I really am enjoying the story in this one, and I like that it's not feeling like such a second book because of that. I find a lot of weaknesses in second books are because the books tend to feel like just a lot of different side quests to just kind of, I don't know, take up pages or take up time, but this doesn't really feel like a side quest book. It feels like every single character has one main quest that they're trying to do. There are still weird things though with the timeline and the pacing, as I mentioned. Like it's not even that it's confusing. It's more just like it takes you out of the story because we'll be so in the moment, you know, like going second by second, moment by moment, day by day, and then in the next sentence it'll be 2 weeks later all of a sudden, and we will have nothing to fill in those gaps, and they're just kind of very jarring time jumps to me. That's just something a little odd that I've noticed throughout the entire book. Is like, yeah, I'll flip a page and then it'll just be like, okay, 3 weeks later. I'll be like, wait, but like I was so in that moment. What happened from there to here? Outside of that though, the story is very addictive. And again, like as I mentioned, the world is just so cool and eerie and creepy and dark and like gritty feeling. So I like that. But yeah, we're getting into the last 100 pages. I know the last 100 pages of An Ember in the Ashes was really high action. And I can tell we're getting into those moments where things are gonna converge and things are gonna happen. So let's finish up A Torch Against the Night. Okay, We did it. We finished A Torch Against the Night. What do I think? What do I think? I think that the story was wonderful. As I mentioned, I really like the plot direction that everything is going in. We're really expanding on the world. I like, as I mentioned, that we kind of opened up the POVs and now we're following multiple characters that have, like, they all have different intentions and goals, and maybe they're pitted against each other. I don't want to say too much, but like, you know, maybe they're not on the same side, let's say, and they all struggle with different things. So I liked the variation in the characters. But what I will also say about the multi-POV is I feel like it was done in such a weird way where some POVs would spoil big reveals in other POVs. I'll try to explain. So let's say in like character A's POV, we get a big reveal. We learn something that would impact character B's POV more. Like character B is really affected by this big reveal, but character A finds out first. And we as the readers find out first as well through character A. If we flip, I don't know, let's say 50 pages later and then character B finally like sees that reveal and finds out, then that big reveal moment just like doesn't feel as dramatic. You know what I mean? Because we as the reader already know what the big reveal is going to be, and then when it like reveals, character B is like really affected by it, but then as the reader you're just like, well, I already knew this, like this isn't news to me. I feel like that was the essence of this book. Like the story was so good, but the way we got the reveals was a little bit odd to me. Like it didn't really maximize the emotional impact that some of these moments could have had. So yeah, something just like a little strange there in like the storytelling, I think. But outside of that, I did feel like this was quite a good read. I do think I like the first book better than this one. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion because I think I've heard a lot of people say that the series gets better as it goes on. I think I liked the first book better actually, but maybe the third book will like, you know, bring it back up again. I still really like this. I think I'm gonna give it a 4-star. I am still very interested in the characters. I am still interested in where the story goes from here. And again, I think kind of the atmosphere of the world is what really shines in this book. Like everything's just very creepy. I feel like I've used the word creepy so many times in this reading vlog. Anyways, for the third series, we are going to continue in this reading vlog. I actually don't have a copy of the next book I want to read yet, so I'm gonna wait for it to arrive and I will see you when I get my hands on it, finally. Oh my goodness! I can't believe that I have this book in my hands right now. It arrived yesterday, kind of like closer to the end of the day yesterday, so I just started this kind of like yesterday evening, and I'm about 100 pages in. Also, just in case you did not know, this is The Strength of the Few. This is the second book in the Hierarchy series, so the first book was The Will of the Many. This is a fantasy sci-fi book. It truly is more of a fantasy book, but it kind of borders on sci-fi because there is technology in this world. Like it does kind of feel like a bit of a sci-fi world, but a fantasy plot. The first book, The Will of the Many, was absolutely incredible. If you don't know what The Will of the Many is, we are set in a world with a very structured hierarchy where we have a pyramid-like structure in society, and the people at the bottom of the pyramid basically feed their will to the people above them in the pyramid. It's really sort of like a pyramid scheme, like really an MLM, but instead of selling products, we just like feed our will to our upline, let's say. And will is just this sort of like life force, strength, energy kind of thing that everyone has, and it can be used for a whole bunch of things. Like it can enhance your strength, it can enhance your skills, or you can imbue it into objects and kind of like power things using will. So that's our world. And in the first book we follow Vis, who is an orphan. At the beginning of the book he gets adopted by this person who is very much higher on the hierarchy, and he makes a deal with Vis. He basically says like, hey, I'm gonna adopt you, I can give you a much better life than the one you have, but you need to join this elite academy, you need to infiltrate, you need to do very well at the academy, but you also have to spy on certain people there. So that is Vis's journey in the first book, and it was a wild ride. Let me tell you, the first book was absolutely insane. One of the best plot twists I think I've ever read. I am thoroughly enjoying this so far. I do have to turn my brain on a little bit again for this one. I think with a lot of fantasy books and sci-fi books, it's like usually when you read the first book, you have to work a little bit harder because you have to, you know, do all this world building, learn about this whole new fantastical world that you're in, the political systems, meet all new characters, and usually the second book is easier to settle into because of the trajectory. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, but just due to the nature of this book, we are pretty much needing to do a lot of like world expansion, I guess you could say. A lot more world building. We're getting a lot of information. There are a lot of unknowns, and it almost feels like you're diving back into the first book of a series. Like, you do have some familiarity with the characters, like obviously you've met them, but there's just like so much more to learn in this one. So I'm taking this slowly so far because there's a lot of information, but I'm really liking it so far. I think James Islington's writing, I think I would honestly describe him as a mix between Brandon Sanderson and Pierce Brown. Like, has the absolute wonderful, unique magic systems that Brandon Sanderson thinks about, but then his writing is a little bit more like spicy, like a little bit more spice, like how Pierce Brown's writing is. So it's kind of just like the perfect medley between the two, I would say. And I don't know, I just can't wait to read more. I also think, I know I've been complaining about the new covers of this book because the old cover, like, it's on my shelf up there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can kind of see the bottom of it, just this book here. They've obviously changed the style of the cover going into this second book. And at first I was kind of like, I kind of hate this style of cover. But the more I look at it, I'm like, this cover's kind of cool. This book, if you guys didn't know, has a reversible dust jacket because a lot of people were complaining about the cover. So if you take the dust jacket off and reverse it, there's actually a design under that matches like the original cover for the first book more. And I was thinking, like, the second I got this book, I would be reversing that dust jacket and using the backside, but I'm kind of loving this aesthetic, actually. Oh, also, I did want to mention, I did, before jumping into this one, do a partial reread on audio of The Will of the Many, just because I really do think that this fantasy world and story is the type that has so many details in it that you need to remember to really get the full impacts of the whole journey and to really understand what's going on. So I did do a partial audio reread, partial just because I didn't have time to finish my audio reread. I think I did like half of the first book, but I think I mentioned this previously, James Islington did post a bonus chapter that is for free online that acts like an interlude between The Will of the Many and The Strength of the Few. And that bonus chapter basically recaps everything that happened in The Will of the Many in like 21 pages. I'll find that link again. I'll share it in the description box below if you want to read that before jumping into The Strength of the Few. But I did find that so helpful to read before going into this one. So thank you, James Islington, for that bonus chapter. It was very much needed. And yeah, I'm just gonna continue reading this. I'm so excited to go on. I have really high hopes. I have been devouring this book today, so I'm like at the 400 page mark or just past 400 pages, so I am over halfway through The Strength of the Few, and I just have to say, I feel like going full steam ahead, full blast is really truly the only way to read this book properly because it is so intricate. Like, there is so much to the world, so much to the story, so much to keep track of that like you can't just casually read a book like this. You need to be all in, and so I have been all in today. It's a really unique structure for a book, and like if you've read the first one and you know what happens at the end, like you'll know what I'm talking about. There's the entire story structure that is this series has become very ambitious, and for the past year while I've been waiting for this book, I've just been so curious to see how James Islington tackles it because I've just been like, how is he going to do this? And yes, seeing it come to fruition is definitely interesting. It basically feels like we are reading a few different stories all mishmashed into one, and I feel like each story is taking such a different trajectory and each story has different pacing that it's feeling a little bit disjointed in a way, because we'll have one POV that like builds super quick, and then another POV that we're simultaneously reading about will feel very slow and ambly in that moment. So jumping back and forth is like a little bit jarring to me right now. So it's like the subject matter that we're reading about is really, really interesting to me, but the overall pacing and flow of the book, I'm like a little bit unsure of right now. It's just a very ambitious idea for a story, and so I definitely have to applaud James Islington for even trying to tackle something like this. It's very much impressing me so far. So that's how I'm feeling overall. I do think the first half of the book was a little bit slow. We started off very strong and then we slowed down, but now in the second half we're picking back up again. And I think that was pretty much the same case for The Will of the Many, so maybe it's just like signature James Islington writing, is that we start with a bang and then we take some time to like build up the world and learn things, and then plot picks up again in the second half. And yeah, I feel like we're getting into the exciting bits of it. So I'm gonna keep reading tonight, and I don't know, I feel like we'll finish this book by tomorrow. I feel like I'm kind of plowing my way through this one right now, and yeah, things are starting to get exciting, so I feel like I'm just not going to be able to stop reading at this point. Okay, where's my book? You do truly just need to give James Islington the time. You need to give him the time to really like fully cook his stories. Like, it was the same deal with The Will of the Many. In the first half, it was good, like it was interesting. It's not like the first half of his books are bad, but I would just say the pacing in the first half of his books are not perfect. They tend to move a little bit slow. They tend to be really super stuffed with information, and they really force you to learn a lot. But then the payoff that you get, he's definitely a lot stronger at writing the second half of a book versus the first half of a book, I think. But when it gets good, it gets so good. And that very last like sentence in this book definitely caught me off guard. I would say like not as much off guard as the end of The Will of the Many did, but it was still a very like, woo, like big reveal moment ending. I really enjoyed this. It's honestly hard for me to talk about without giving, I guess, like alluding to spoilers from the end of The Will of the Many, because the end of that book really leads to the overall structure of this book and like what this book is. So if you haven't read The Will of the Many and you still plan on reading it, please skip ahead to this time code, because I'm not going to be talking about exactly what happened at the end of The Will of the Many, but the thing, like the way I'm going to be talking will maybe give away some things that happen at the end of that book. So yeah, please skip ahead. This is no longer a safe space for you. But yeah, I was just so curious to see how this book would be structured, because I knew we were going to branch off into basically 3 different stories, and I was so just like baffled at how this whole thing would be pulled off. And I would say James Islington did it quite successfully. I think at the beginning I was a little bit skeptical because things did feel quite disjointed. I would say the 3 different storylines were going at such different paces, and I feel like jumping back and forth between them at first was very, very jolting, like really took me out of the flow. And as we continued on through the story, like I kept losing interest in some of the storylines, but then like gaining more interest in other ones. Like it was really like, oh, this one's my favorite one now, and then this one's my favorite one now, and then that one's my favorite one now. Like it really kept shifting. But overall, I am just so impressed at how he's managed to do this. Like definitely a very ambitious story to tell. And one of my favorite favorite things about the 3 different timelines that we were in was seeing like the truly different environments and feels and cultures that were our different worlds. I think it's quite obvious that there was a lot of real world inspiration that was taken into these 3 different worlds and how they were built. So I really enjoyed that. And I also really liked how we explored the idea of really how your surroundings and how the things that happen to you really impact your decision making, really impact your priorities, really impact like what you want in life, what you strive to get in life. We definitely saw how this impacted our protagonist a lot as he went in through these like different experiences, through the different timelines, through the different stories in this book. So I thought that was really, really well done. But this is also a story that always leaves you with more questions than it answers. Like I remember at the end of The Will of the Many, I was like, hold on. I feel like I had a few things answered, but there's so much more that I still need answers for and I still don't know. And I feel like this book gave that vibe the entire way through. It was always like, oh, I'm wondering about so many things and we're slowly getting fed answers, but it's like almost not satisfying enough in how much we get by the end of the book. So I still don't really know how I feel about that. On one hand, I'm like, I love all the questions and like wondering about things, but on the other hand, I'm like, I feel so frustrated. So I feel like that could go either way in terms of personal preference. I mean, overall, I'm just really, really impressed with the story. This is definitely a more plot-driven book versus a character-driven book, although I do think we did get a little bit more character development in this one compared to The Will of the Many. I would still say overall this series is primarily plot driven. And I honestly can't wait to see where this goes from here. Like, I feel like we just keep opening more doors to expand more and more and more in the world. Yeah, this was a great read. I do, though, oddly, I did notice a few editing issues, like continuity and just things that didn't make sense in the editing. So maybe we just needed a little bit more work with this one, a little bit more time to fine tune. I think I'm gonna give this one a 4.5. It was such a good read. There were just a few things with the editing and with some of the pacing that were maybe blocking me from giving this a full 5-star like I rated The Will of the Many, but overall, really, really wonderful read. Definitely opening my eyes to like a whole other type of fantasy. So this was wonderful. Okay, to round up this reading vlog, of course, we have to update our lovely series tracker. So what did we read? We read The Blood Traitor. So this series is now officially done. We've read 3 out of 3 and we are finished. Yes. That is literally the most satisfying feeling. Okay, next we read A Torch Against the Night. So the next one I think is A Reaper at the Gates. I always get these titles mixed up, like the order of the titles for the Ember Quartet. I don't know why. But I think the 3rd book is A Reaper at the Gates. So I've read 2 out of 4 and I'm still ready to continue because I do have the 3rd book on my physical TBR already, and we just read The Strength of the Few. So the next book, I don't think we have a title announcement yet. I mean, this one just came out, so I'm not expecting a title announcement yet. It's still unfinished. I've read 2 out of 2 and this one is moving into up to date, and we'll bring it back up to this active series tab once the next book has been announced. So our official series tracker for active series that I'm in the middle of is now 17. I love that. I feel like we've made some really good progress. I had so much fun finishing and continuing some of the series I'm in the middle of this week, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well, and I hope you enjoyed going through some series with me. That being said, I am going to leave you guys here for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what series you want to prioritize finishing next. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!